Today's going to be really fun. We're going to talk about all things S100, which is expected to come out later this week. We have got 4 panelists for you today, but first, before I get to them, during the webinar today, if you have any questions, just go ahead on the right side of your screen. There's going to be a box, and there is a question box. Go ahead and put your questions in that question box, and we can try and answer them throughout the program. We're going to have a Q&A at the end, so stick your questions in there. I will be keeping track of them as we go, and then we can go ahead and ask them to our panelists at the end of the program. If you have any questions about anything else, go about the webinar. If you're having trouble with anything, go ahead and ask questions in there too, and I will be paying attention to that as we go. First up on our list of panelists today is Millie Washington. Millie has been IICRC Standards Director since June 2011. Her focus has been to streamline the standards development process and strategy at the IICRC, work towards American National Standards Institute, which is ANSI's, approval for new and revised standards, and use more digital tools to make virtual collaboration really come to life. She's been assisting the S100 leadership and membership to complete the revision process as well. She's also a member of the Society for Standards Professionals, and she serves on their board of directors as well, and she's also certified by SES as a certified standards professional. Next we've got Howard Wolf. He is the IICRC Standards Chairman. Howie has been involved in the restoration and cleaning industry since 1984. He has extensive disaster and large project experience with particular expertise in institutional, industrial, and hospitality facilities. And he's also been involved in many national disaster events, beginning with Hurricane Andrew in 1992. He is also extensively involved with IICRC, having served on the board of directors and various technical advisory committees for certification and standards. He is a past chapter chair for the S520 mold remediation standard and S500 water damage standard. He was the consensus body chair of the ANSI S500 06 3rd edition and the ANSI BSR S500 4th edition. Now on to our S100 committee chair, Doug Bradford. He is an industry consultant and has been in the business for 28 years. He is also a lead AP RIA certified restorer. He's an IICRC Master Cleaner Senior Carpet Inspector as well. He has chaired the S100 revision for the last 9 years. He owns a commercial carpet detail hard service restoration cleaning company, Eco Interior Maintenance, with locations in DC, Maryland, Northern Virginia, and Central Florida. And last but not least is Richard Bodo. He is the S100 Committee Vice Chair. As an industry veteran with over 17 years experience, Bo has helped thousands of people across the country to get a handle on their carpet and hard floor care issues. Bo is an IICRC certified instructor, master textile cleaner, as well as a writing and voting member of the IICRC S600 Carpet Installation Standard Consensus Body, and he is now vice chair of the IICRC S100 Carpet Care Standard. He is also a U.S. GBC Lead Green Associate with a background in both chemical and equipment manufacturing, and he contributes to the industry as a writer in various magazines and as a speaker and industry trade shows all over. He is also the Director of Training at IICRC North America. Again, thank you for joining us. If you can't stay for the whole webinar, or if you want to rewatch the webinar, we're going to make it available on the IICRC's Facebook page within the next couple of hours. So stay tuned, and without further ado, here is Doug Bradford.
Hi there. Appreciate the intro, and just wanted to say a few things before I hand this over to Bo. First, Millie, I just wanted to send out a special thanks for being available to all of us anytime, day or night, and on the weekends. To Bo and I, and before that, Bill Yaden. We really appreciate the time and you spent to help us. Special thanks to Bo, my vice chair, for being there to bounce off ideas back and forth. Together we were able to stay focused and stay engaged in the process thick and thin. I also want to recognize all that participated over the last 9 years to revise the S100 during my tenure as chair. each one of you know who you are, and I don't really have to go through all the names because they're stated in the presentation. Finally, I just want to say how much I've appreciated the time I've been able to spend as chair, as the IICRC chair for the S100, and for everyone and our forefathers that have spent the time and put the volunteer time and you know, to set out the standards for writing in the educational background that we have had today. So without further ado, I wanted to give the presentation over to Bo and let you go from here, Bo.
Thanks, Doug. You know, and I will tell you that this is Doug's second go-around with the S100 as the chair. So this is about a 10-year project for Doug. And, you know, Doug and I have worked through thick and thin. There's been a lot of thin, a lot of thick, not a lot in between, but we got done and got through it. And so glad to have this document out to the industry. You know, I think in presentation will not advance. So give me 1 second. Let me find out what is going on here. Okay. And I think we're back.
Well, as Bo prepares to advance the slide, I just want to say this is Millie Washington from IICRC. I just want to say a big thank you to Doug and Bo for incredible leadership on the S100 committee for the last few years. It's really been a great team to work with and help through the process, and we're just happy to have the standard and the reference guide ready and to share some exciting information with everyone. So thank you, Doug. Thank you, Bo.
Hey, Bo.
Okay.
Yay.
Hopefully we're here. So I wanted to start by going through the consensus body members. Forgive me, I'm not sure what happened there. We wanted to kind of go through the people who are vital putting this together. We've got them listed here. You can see on the screen Aaron Grossclose with Master Blend, Cindy Boland with Shaw, Dan Miles with CRS Commercial Carpet Maintenance, Eric Bunder with StarNet, Fritz French with Racine Industries, Jim Smith with JBS Consultants. And, you know, Jennifer, I got to apologize. For some reason, my computer is not allowing me to advance the slides. I'm going to pause. Can I turn this over to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me pull it up on my screen. Sorry, everybody. If you could just bear with us for about 30 seconds, I'll pull this up on my screen. And if you just tell me when to advance, I will advance. All right, there we go. Is Bo there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
Go ahead and advance to the next couple slides. 2 slides up.
Another one?
One more. Okay, John Garger, who we'll talk a little bit more about John at the end of the presentation. You can go back 1 slide, please. Norm Maya from MFT National Cleaning Services, Randall Linton with Interior Care, Scott Warrington with Bridgepoint Systems, Sean Forsyth with Central California Cleaning Supply, and Stephen Lewis with Millicare, Textile and Carpet Care. We had a few alternates as well. If you can advance, please. Charlie Rollins was an alternate with Shaw. Debbie Lima was an alternate with Racine Industries. Mike West with Clean Care. And Jeff Cross was a technical editor from Clean Facts Magazine. Go ahead and advance, please. We had a lot of additional contributors. There was a lot of people who we went to for information who specialized in certain areas, and their names are listed here and listed in the front of the S100. If you go ahead and advance, please. Millie Washington was really vital in us being able to get this done. I know that Doug has already thanked her, but I would like to personally thank her as well. Having done this myself with Doug for about the past 10 years, I can tell you that Millie did an outstanding job of helping us stay focused, of managing all our documents, managing the COBI system which we use for tracking votes, tracking the documents, and making sure that we had everything nailed down and in compliance with what ANSI was going to be looking for. So, Millie, hats off to you. You did an awesome job. It was a pleasure to work with you, and I look forward to doing it again. All right, if you'd advance, please. One of the things that you're going to see is that we have now separated the standard from the reference guide. So as we talk about what's new with the S100, this is one of the first things that you'll see. In the past, when we've approved a standard and reference guide together, to do that through ANSI, everything has to be publicly reviewed. So that public review takes a long time when you're publicly reviewing a reference guide. So when Millie came on, one of the things we began to realize was that no one really does it that way. So when people put together a standard that's ANSI approved, they approve the standard, but not the reference guide. So we've done the same thing. We're now separating the standard and reference guide. You'll see some new nomenclature. The standard will be the S100. The reference guide will have the nomenclature of R100. So you'll see this S and R, two separate documents. But I will tell you that we're going to recommend that you have both of them. That if you're going to purchase the standard, that you get the reference guide to go with it, because there's things that clarify what's in the standard in the reference guide. Go ahead and advance, please. So that's one of the big changes with the S100, and hopefully that'll help us make it easier to create standards in the future. When we started doing this, one of the first things we had to do for ANSI was we had to get a balanced committee. And so what does a balanced committee mean in ANSI's language and the way ANSI views things? Well, there's three things that they look for, three types of people. The first was that we had to have people that were producers. So people who produce things that went into carpet. So you can see here a list of things. So cushion manufacturers, carpet manufacturers, adhesive, cleaning tools, chemicals, equipment manufacturers. So we look for material interested parties from that part of the industry. The next, if you can advance, please, were people who were users. And so by a user, which you'll see here in a second, a user is basically anyone who uses it. So contract cleaners, carpet installers, carpet retailers. I mean, these types of people who actually use the products that are produced. So we look for people that were involved in use of the product. If you'd advance one more. The third group was general interest. So, people that really didn't fit into either of those, but might have an interest in being involved in the standard. And so what ANSI asks for is that you have balance between those three groups. And as you can see, all of our technology is cooperating today, not only here in Denver, but wherever Jennifer's located.
Are you unable to see the screen again?
Oh, I can see it, but it seems like it's frozen on users.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay, there's general interest. Okay, if you can fast forward or go to the next slide. So general interest, those are the three MIPS. And so what we had to do first was balance the consensus body between those three groups. And so once we achieved balance, we began our work. So the timeline looks like this. In November of 2012, Doug Bradford and I were contacted by Howie and asked to chair and vice chair this document. Doug and I began, sending out, applications looking for people to be on the body. We received applications, and basically anyone who applied was on the consensus body. No one was turned away. In February of 2013, we had our initial consensus body meeting, kind of laid out a timeline. At that point, we were looking at a 9-month timeline, and I think that was, idealistic, but 30 months later, we're done. In September of 2013, that was when we were targeting to be finished, but we rolled past that, and finally we finished everything up about a year later in March 2014. We had the document completed, and we went out for public review at the end of March. The public review period was 45 days, so by mid-May of last year, we had gotten all the public review comments back. We spent a few months responding to those comments. We had a couple small sections of the document that we had to make some changes to. They went out for another public review. And then in September of 2014, we took our final votes and turned everything over to Millie to turn into ANSI and get approval. And so that's really the timeline that from when we started the S100 revision until now, that's basically what's happened. So when we set up the body, there was a couple things that we really wanted to accomplish. One, develop a standard inclusive of wet and dry technologies. One of the things that's evolved over the past decade or so is, commercial carpet maintenance and the use of different technologies. It's not a world of just hot water extraction anymore. There's a lot of different tools, so we wanted to be inclusive of those tools and of those methods for cleaning. We wanted to have a standard that was both inclusive of commercial and residential and recognize the nuances and differences between the two. Because as we started doing the prior version of the S100, which was when we really separated this out, we realized that just a section on cleaning carpet really wasn't going to suffice. We had to address the differences between commercial carpet maintenance and residential carpet cleaning. We wanted to increase focus on the science of cleaning chemistry. And so we're going to talk about a couple of things that actually Jim Smith's one of the gentlemen who really drove, and I think it really opened up some new lines of thought and dialogue for us around cleaning chemistry and the criteria of how we go out and talk about that. We had to develop criteria and methodology for carpet types, characteristics, conditions. So we had people from the carpet mills who were able to put together some really unique things to help us evaluate carpet, understand what we're seeing in carpet when we're assessing a situation. We established procedures for appearance retention, soil removal, and indoor environmental quality. So some of the things that have been written about green and the greening of the environment, especially the indoor environment, we really try to address in this standard. And then procedural standards for professional carpet rug maintenance and cleaning in both residential and commercial settings. So those were the things that as we laid everything out, these were the things we wanted to try to address in this standard. And Jennifer, if you can advance, please.
Is it showing up yet? I did, but there's a delay.
Yeah, no, I'm not seeing anything. I'm sorry.
Ken. Are we back?
I am. Okay, so here's what we did. So one of the things that really changed from the S100 2011 version to the S100, or from the previous versions in the S100 2011 version, and we felt like Doug and I wanted to talk about that, was that in the 2011 version of the S100, which not too many people got to see because it was pulled pretty quickly after it came out, one of the things that changed was this focus on not only the science of cleaning, but the business of cleaning. And I'm going to show you a couple charts that Doug had, come up with, and it's pretty interesting when we, when I first attended my first S100 meeting with Doug. He talked about, he showed this chart that I'm going to show you here in a second, and it was pretty interesting because he had kind of looked at 5 principles of cleaning and said, every process uses some sort of these. And so what we really need to do is take processes and build a system for cleaning. And so if you advance to the next slide, Jennifer, about 10 years ago, I attended a meeting with just a small group of people when we were getting ready to do the previous version of the S100 and saw this chart that Doug presented. And, I kind of looked at it, and I will tell you it was done very well for what he was trying to communicate, but I looked at it and thought, we've got to simplify this. And so I took a crack at it based on my understanding of what Doug was trying to present and came up with the next chart, if you'll advance the page. And what we were trying to get at was the fact that, you're going to do certain things and use certain steps to take different processes of cleaning and create a system for maintaining a floor out of them. And so what we ended up with, and is in the S100 document, is this next slide, if you would advance. This chart, which I'm going to explode and go into a little bit of detail about, is in the new version of the S100. And so I want to dig in and kind of show you what this chart is, by components. So when we start talking, if you would advance to the next slide, Jennifer, when we start talking about development of a textile floor covering maintenance system, the first thing you're going to do whenever you're trying to maintain and clean a carpet is just kind of pre-inspect and gather the facts. You're going to look at things like, what is the customer's expectation? What are they trying to achieve? What's the condition of the carpet? What type of air circulation do you have? What's the location? What equipment do you have to clean? What's that? You're going to look at traffic. I'm sorry? You're going to look at traffic patterns and those sorts of things. So the first step is just pre-inspection and fact gathering. What are you dealing with? Step 2 is to prevent soil from coming into a building and then apply cleaning objectives. Are we doing routine cleaning where we're just trying to minimize the effects of soiling, things like vacuuming? Are we doing interim cleaning for just appearance management or restorative cleaning for maximum soil removal? So the second step, once you have pre-inspected and gathered the facts, is just to determine what are you trying to accomplish. The third step is basically to select the methods that you can use. So we have down here 6 different methods of cleaning: absorbent pad extraction, dry compound extraction, encapsulation extraction, foam extraction, shampoo extraction, or water rinse extraction. What method are you going to use to extract the soils out of the carpet? The fourth step is to put that together into a system where you're going to take the principles of cleaning, the 5 principles of cleaning we always talk about, and you're going to create the maintenance system. Once you understand what the state of the carpet is, what's your objective, and what process you're going to use to do that, then you create your maintenance system. So processes become systems. And this is where you can create with those systems a complete maintenance program. So this is one of the changes that occurred in the 2011 version, but we felt like not enough people knew about it. We definitely want to highlight it because it's really important when you start talking about how do you maintain a facility. Another change, especially in the chemistry section, was an understanding of states of matter, that not every substance stays in the same state that it is when you clean it. This is one of the things I said that Jim Smith brought up, and we had a lot of discussion around this, but when we kind of understood it, all of a sudden, if you understand states of matter and how you change matter from one thing to another, it changes the way you look at cleaning. So things like just having understanding non-solids, that they move freely. Some solids can be transformed from another state to have detergency. Temperature and chemical reactions causing a substance to change from one state to another for removal. And the example that's used here is solid oils becoming a liquid with heat. So states of matter is something that's dealt with in our chemistry section, which is one of our priorities, was to make sure that the chemistry was accurate and that we really expanded upon it, even stepped it up a little bit. Okay, Jennifer, next slide. Another was this concept of polarity, which, you know, we've talked about for years, but we really wanted to delve into a little bit. And again, this was, I got to give credit where credit's due for Jim Smith for kind of putting this out there and working with us while we come to understand it. But, you know, substances exhibit polarity, okay? Some substances do, primarily polar or nonpolar. So they're either one of those. Polar substances, positive and negative. So when you start dealing with the laws of attraction for how we remove soil and how that plays into the chemistry you remove, states of matter and polarity were really two key things that you know, we tried to address in the chemistry section. And if you'd advance to the next slide, Jennifer. You know, finally, we wanted to let you guys know that the entire body of the S100, the entire work, is dedicated to John Gardner. For those of you who knew John, everything that was good about our industry, John represented. John was one of those guys who was always willing to help. You know, worked really hard, knew his craft. And we last July 13th had a meeting at 3 o'clock to approve some stuff. At 3:30, John made the final motion to finish whatever we were doing, and left work right after that and died of a heart attack that night. I mean, literally one of the last things John did in work was to vote and to call a vote on this, to make a motion on this document. You know, John is a dear friend for a lot of us, and you know, we dedicated this entire work to him and his memory. So that's really all I've got. The document will be released this week. One of the things that's kind of unique about this document, instead of it just being in a print form, it'll be in digital format as well. So it'll be available in PDF, which obviously will make it a lot easier to carry around on iPads and tablets and your phone. Remember, if you purchase both the reference guide and the standard. So I will turn it back over to Jennifer if we have any questions, and I'll let her handle that. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I think you guys know how these things normally go. So, Jennifer?
Yes. We're going to open it up to questions. If anybody has any questions, please go and put them in the question box now. We've got two right now. One, the first question is, will there be a bundle price for the standard and guide?
Jennifer, I can take that one. This is Millie. We actually are a little bit ahead of schedule. I know Bo mentioned that we'll have it available sometime this week. We actually have the print and PDF versions available. The link is webstore.iicrc.org. Currently, the S100 is for $35, and the R100, the reference guide, is for $55. We are working on a bundle. We're actually working on a subscription site, and that will be up probably in a week to 10 days, so bear with us. But individually, both are available and can be purchased. And the EPUB formats, which is, you know, for your Kindle, your iPad, all of that, is available shortly as well. Right now, what we have is the PDF and the print versions.
Okay. The second question that we have is, how much does it cost?
I just covered that, so we're good.
Yes. Does anybody have any other questions that came in? I think one of the main ones that, let's scroll back up, that we got earlier is, are there any specific changes that we need to know that are in the standard before that are not in the standard now?
Well, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Are there any changes in the standard that weren't there then but are there now? Basically, I think they're trying to ask if there's any changes from between the last S100 and this one currently, the brand new revised one.
Yes. Yes, I think you put it, yeah. There will be changes. I don't know that there's anything monumental, but there will be some changes.
Are there any other questions from anybody out there?
Bo, I think one of the questions actually is, what are some of those changes? I just saw that come in.
Yeah, what are the main new items or changes?
You know, I think probably in terms of the standard, and I don't know if Doug has anything to add on this, but I would say that probably one of the bigger changes you're going to see will be, and I don't think it will be anything monumental, but probably more of a clarification on, you know, alternate technologies, as you might call it. I mean, you know, things like encapsulation being mentioned and being involved now. You know, more of an understanding that extraction is just a physical removal of soil, and there's a lot of mediums to extract. That's probably, in terms of the standard, the biggest changes you're going to see. I mean, I don't think there's anything earth-shattering. Doug, do you have anything to add? Anything that you think maybe is worth mentioning?
No, Bo, I think you did a great job there, but I think that just refinement and just clarification of definitions is a major advancement. As we went through the whole process, we went over most all of the definitions and refined and clarified them to even a better state than what we had several years back. So I think in the changes that you'll see, I think there's a tremendous amount of change in the document that would you know, render. I mean, I'd certainly want to have this updated version, and based on just those couple things.
Yeah, and I would agree. Again, I don't think it's anything earth-shattering, but I think there is a lot of clarification of from the previous standards.
Perfect. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add before we say goodbye?
No, I think Doug said it, but I really appreciate all the people who served on the consensus body. You know, it was a lot of work, a lot of love that went into the document, and so a lot of passion. So thank you, guys.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
same here. Just you know, as I'm down here in Dalton, Georgia, right now, right across from the old CRI building, doing some more training on some of the newer LVTs, et cetera. But I think just continue learning, and we appreciate the opportunity to serve here as representatives at IICRC, and hope that people take and use this information for the good of the industry. Appreciate everything, everybody's help. Thanks.
All right, well, we'd like to thank everybody for joining us. Again, if you'd like to watch, if you missed anything, or if you know anybody that wanted to see the webinar but wasn't able to join us, feel free to go to the IICRC's Facebook page within the next couple hours. We're going to upload the video on